Uh, let's see. Let's see if our audio will be better this time around. Let's see if our audio will be better this time than it was the previous time. If it's okay, then we'll get the conversation going. If it does fail us, then we will have to abort it tonight because there will be no reason for insisting if it doesn't work out. But le- let's just hope this one will work out perfectly well. In regards to this broadcast, if it does work out well, we'll proceed with it. If it doesn't, then we'll have to just call it a night and try again tomorrow at the earliest opportunity possible. But I want to believe that this time around we'll be okay. I would want to believe that this time around we'll be okay. So let me have the audios tested before we get into the conversation. Really. Oh, this is unfortunate. I'm already struggling with internet. Oh, maybe it was even because of our glitches. It could have been. Let's wait and see. We're just going to have to be patient this time around with this. Oh, yeah. It's an internet glitch that we're struggling with. That's the cause of the internet, the audio blips, because the audio was coming through, but it had that slight delay, and particularly because of bad internet. Let's hope everything can be okay. Let's hope everything can be okay in just a bit. Otherwise, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. Like I said, you'll have to excuse me. I'm battling a bug. So, but yeah, we'll do our best. Ryan Oliver Joseph. Hi, Ryan Oliver Joseph. Why are you joining us for? It's good to have you on the Footballtribe GG channel. I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm seeing you here for the very first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a pleasure to have you join the community. Do let us know where you're joining us from, Ryan. Let us know where you're joining us from, Ryan. Oh, again, I'm trying to have our audio tested on a separate device, but our internet seems to be struggling a bit. It seems to be struggling a bit so far. But I can see we have a failed connection test. Let's see if we can reconnect and get things going in bits. Okay. Looks like it's okay. Getting there in a bit. Just kindly enlarge me, and we'll see. Otherwise, we'll be good to go in a minute. We'll be good to go in a minute. For those of you that are just joining us, we've had to, cancel our earlier, broadcast because of difficulties in our sound. There was glitches in the sound that was coming through, but we've corrected that. So let's proceed with the conversation. I think we'll just have to repeat it all together because nobody's going to go back and watch the other earlier 13 minutes that we had already done. We spent most of it, checking whether the sound was okay and everything in that regard. But it turned out things continued to fail, and we've had to have a do-over. But anyways, we are okay now. We are okay. Okay. I like the headlines show Jorrel Hato is set to undergo a Chelsea medical ahead of completing that move from Ajax to Stamford Bridge. It's a deal that has been in the pipeline for the last 2 weeks or so, and things like that. But a very exciting talent that Chelsea are getting on their hands. And like I was saying earlier on, for all the criticism we've levied against Chelsea in the kinds of players they've signed, whether we agree or disagree whether they really need them. For this one, I do really think he's a very brilliant addition to this Chelsea side, and he's a player that I do think they really need. So, according to the Athletic, David Austin says Chelsea reached total agreement with Ajax to sign Jorrel Hato, subject to Ajax supervisory board approval, a fee about 40 million euros plus sell on pending a green light. 19-year-old defender to travel to London for medical and join Chelsea on a 7-year deal. So meaning his contract would be running up to 2037. Chelsea has very many players, or even actually majority of their players, on these very long-term contracts. Some are on 7-year contracts, others on 6-year contracts, 6.5, 8-year contracts. I think Cole Palmer, I stand to be corrected, but he's on a 9-year contract, and things like that. And earlier on, I was following a conversation again that included, I think, Mark Goldbridge and the cycling geek. That's Ben Foster. Yeah, good to have you back, Pedri. It's better now. Oh, thank you. So I was following a conversation that they were having about players' contracts, and he did mention it that oftentimes we as fans, it's not something that we are alive to in regards to player contracts. We are only concerned when we want them to renew their contracts, or when it's about to expire and we could lose them on a free, or our respective clubs could lose them on a free. That's when we usually get concerned and things of that nature. And he was saying, of course, it's a new phenomena that players are getting signed on these very long-term contracts. And in any case, it's Chelsea that has opened this can of worms, putting players on 7, 6, 8-year contracts. Mark Goldbridge is so funny when Man United get mutilated. Is that what you meant? Hey, when Man United get humiliated, when he gets angry, funny to watch him. Okay, so Ben Foster was saying, of course, this was never there back in the days, but he was saying, even a player being on a 4-year contract was something big, and that meant that you're financially secure for the next 4 years. You didn't have to worry. And he did say that depending on the character of the player or the level of professionalism they had, that maybe out of those 4 years, they would have 1 year where they sort of drop in concentration and that kind of thing, that they get a bit complacent, because either way, they are still rest assured of their paycheck for the really sorted financially. And he then moved on to highlight what's happening with Chelsea. Our football legend 360, good to have you on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Football legends, actually, at 360. Thank you for joining us. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it's your first time here. So he was saying that look at those kinds of players, and he went on to say that, for example, if you're a Chelsea player and you're on a 7-year contract, if let's say things are not clicking for you, and then they bring in a backup player for you, you're going to care less about getting back to your competitiveness because you're on a long-term guaranteed contract. Your paycheck is not affected. He also went on to say, if you got, let's say, a long-term injury, a bad injury, you wouldn't bother fight. You wouldn't be desperate to get back on the playing turf because you're rest assured you're on a very long-term contract. And that particularly got me thinking about, for example, Mokalo Modric in the conundrum that he is currently in with those charges that he's facing from the FA for being found in breach of the anti-doping rules. Of course, he's been out of action for a very long time. I think we are coming on 6 months, if not already. Okay, maybe not 6 months, but I remember, I do not remember the last time he featured for Chelsea, but I seem to suspect it could have been before the knockout stages of the UEFA Conference League. So, and yet I would want to believe, because there's not been a report contrary to it, that he is still getting his paycheck as a Chelsea player. He's on a very long-term contract, So apparently, you say it's very smart because you can spread the transfer fee over the number of years in his contract, at least for La Liga. Let's say Barcelona spent 10 million and gave a player a 5-year contract, it would be 2 million. A year registered as a spending loss. Okay, yes, I do get that part. That part is all okay. And that's why Chelsea are putting these players on very long-term contracts, because then they get to spread those payments over multiple years, which is all fine. But then we are talking about, if you do have a player who for example, is not as professional as you want him to be. Meaning, basically, what he was trying to say, that it gets you complacent with time, that because you're rest assured that your paycheck is guaranteed, you're on a very long-term contract. So you wouldn't be desperate or even eager to get yourself in order. And he gave the example that, for example, assume, let's say you're a deep line midfielder and things are not going on well for you. Your form is, on and off and that kind of thing. And then they bring in a backup player or they bring another player in your position. Are your urge to fight to get back to the very top would not be the same as a player who has a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract, or even let's say it was initially a 4-year contract and you have 2 years left with it, or 18 months. The kind of grit that you put in, the kind of shift that you put in to make sure that you get back to the very best level wouldn't be as much compared to a player that knows that for the next 5 years they are, rest assured of their paycheck. So, and then Mark Goldbridge gave the example and said, for example, let's say you have a player like Alejandro Garnacho who's been on 20,000 pounds per week, and then suddenly maybe they performed well, and then you put them on 200 grand a week. Then he's bound to get complacent because his paycheck is rest assured, and that's a whole lot of money, especially for a player of this age, 20, so, and that kind of thing. But I do feel that there is a valid reason there. Of course, it doesn't happen with all players. Some players are really, really professional. I've not seen any level of complacency whatsoever in players like Enzo Fernandez, in players like Moises Caicedo, in players like Cole Palmer. But what he essentially was trying to communicate, that it may not happen in the first 2-3 years of your contract, but it may come along, where you get complacent at some point, maybe for a year and a half in your contract, or especially if you're on a 4-year contract, and you was trying to compare it. What if you're on a 7-year contract? Then that period of complacency could go to 2 to 3 years, and that kind of thing, because either way, either the club would have to sell you, or they'll have to keep you, and you get your paycheck. You say, but it blocks the players. It blocks the players' freedom as well. It basically serves the club at the most, because they can easily sell the player for a huge fee comfortably, as there is still a lot of years in his contract. At 20k a week is violating Garnacho and his quality. It is basically pocket change. No. 20,000 pounds is not pocket change, and maybe I'm speaking with the conversion mentality of an African, but that notwithstanding, for a player, for an academy graduate, because okay, he's not typically a Manchester United academy graduate, but at least he came through. By the time he joined Man United, he was still really, really young and started at the academy level. So that is a good money, because we are talking about players who play professional football, are very, very good players that are on 5,000 pounds a week, in other leagues, in countries like Ukraine, even within Europe. And yet that is still good money compared to other jobs. There's not many jobs that are going to pay you 5,000 pounds a week, and that means you're making 20 grand a month. So do the math. I do not know, but yes, if, for example, let's say if Orlando Garnacho was, let's say, at 23 years of age and he was still on 20 grand a week, then we would have that debate. So Take, for example, a player like Christian Mosquera, who has just joined Arsenal from Valencia. It could be that, let's say, he's been on, let's say, £5,000 per week. This is just speculation at Valencia. Let's assume he's been earning that. If he's coming to Arsenal and he's going to get on £20,000 a week, that's four times double what he's been. That's four times what's been receiving. So he will be happy. It's not to say, and usually remember, every time these players perform well, they are performance-related bonuses in some cases. They are achievement-based bonuses. So it's not like at the end of the day, that's all the money they make. For example, a team like Chelsea, when they qualified for the UEFA Champions League, those players got bonuses and that kind of thing. But also, remember, Cole Palmer, immediately after his first season, they reviewed his contract because they wanted to improve his pay. So it also motivates the player that the more you work hard, the more we're going to keep improving your contract. Look at a player like Bukayo Saka. Look back when he was just coming through the academy and what kind of contract he was on. In those years, especially during the Unai Emery era, and then when Mikel Arteta had just walked in, and look at where he is now. Of course, they are discussing a contract renewal, but trust me, he's earning very, very good money because he's been a star player in that team. He's been consistent. So while it's not one-sided, that it also affects the player in one way or the other, I think the players sometimes get too comfortable and knowing that their future is financially secured. So you say it's basically, okay, I'm talking about a footballer and I consider Garnacho a big player in the world of football. I meant big. Okay, you consider him a big player, yes, but Mosquera and Garnacho are completely different in terms of their positions in global football. Garnacho is a big player, a starter, and a difference maker. And let's not give him wings. Let's not give him the wings that he doesn't deserve. He's had a couple of good moments in a Manchester United shirt, but I wouldn't call him. I wouldn't give him that kind of hype really. And it's something that we football fans sometimes are very synonymous with. A player comes in, he has maybe one good season or maybe a couple of months that were very brilliant, and then suddenly you start hearing people saying world class, top what. I do not know if for how much the conversation you follow online. For example, Arsenal fans, they have been literally running their mouths off with Max Dorman. He is looking very exciting. He looks like quite the challenge again. But let's be honest, he's barely had 90 minutes of playing time at a senior level, and yet we are all singing all songs of praise, deserved or otherwise, of the player. And that kind of feeling. That's what I want to communicate. So yes, while he can be a starter, look at his numbers, statistics last season. They weren't great. And he has this behavioral issues that he needs to work on as a player and that kind of thing. So he's not a finished product. He's far from a finished product really. So you say Willis Mosquera is still very young. Mosquera just turned 21. Garnacho is the same age profile. He's the same profile, and experience less in terms of football. Christian Mosquera has played more football in the last 2 seasons as compared to any other player in his age bracket. He's played about 70 games for Valencia in the last 2 seasons. So that's the kind of player that we are talking about. That's the kind of player that we are talking about. Let's not discount that. And when you look at Alejandro Garnacho, for example, in the Europa League last season, 15 appearances, 1 goal, 4 assists. That's the player we're talking about. In the Premier League, he made 36 appearances. That's a whole lot of games, and it speaks to what you are saying that he is a starter indeed. But 6 goals and 2 assists. Yes, he's 21 years of age. He turned actually 21 on 1st July, So, but you look at that, the season last season, he made the similar number of appearances in the Premier League alone and he scored 7 goals and provided 4 assists. That's when we got to learn of, how capable he could be. It wasn't his debut season, but that's when we started to look at his capabilities. But has he improved? I would want to believe that he's not improved himself that much. There's not a huge difference. So you say, I wanted to see Hato at Holland FC. Holland FC? What's Holland FC? You mean Liverpool? Are you trying to suggest that Liverpool is Holland FC? It would have been Virgil van Dijk, Frimpong, Garnacho, Gakpo, Hato. Okay, you're calling them Holland FC because they have Dutch players. They are amassing a good number of Dutch players. I do get what you're trying to mean. But either way, Liverpool have never expressed interest in a player like Alejandro Garnacho. By the way, I do think, and without a single ounce of doubt, that in Alejandro Garnacho, there is a very brilliant young player in there that needs to be molded, that needs to be well managed for his behaviors. There have been reports that he's one of those that leaks, news from within the dressing room. Now, that's a very, very unprofessional of him to do, if indeed it is true that he's doing it. Things of that nature. So I do not think there's any single manager, even if you're one of the best players that they do have in the team, that would want a player with that kind of attitude and character. If anything, Sir Alex Ferguson was known for cutting off players who were misbehaving, even though they thought they were stars. David Beckham leaving Manchester United wasn't really out of his personal preference, but while he ended up at a very good club in Real Madrid, it was part punishment from Sir Alex Ferguson saying, get out of my dressing room. Because remember, one rotten tomato can spoil the basket. So that's what you look to sort of iron out. Anyways, so Jorrel Hato to Chelsea, that's in the pipeline. Chelsea will get that deal done. He can play as a center back, he can play as a left back. So Marco Correa gets a backup there, but also he can be a key starter in that Chelsea defense. He's been one of the most sought after talents as far as European youngsters are concerned, because Arsenal, Liverpool have equally scouted the player. Those are the clubs that I know for a fact who have scouted him. Agafanov from Russia, good to have you back on the broadcast. Thank you so much for being with us this late night or / evening. So, anyways, so Chelsea remain in pursuit of Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho, although I do feel for both players that if they do go to Chelsea, their playing time may be a bit limited. I did watch Hato a lot, so I do not know how good he is. Neither have I watched him a lot, but from the clips I've watched, he is a very, very good, promising talent. He is a very good, promising talent. For all youngsters are promising talents. Whether you can nurture them to be fine dynamites, that remains to be seen. Sometimes their talents, they fail to live to the hype, the expectations. I'm sure even you who follows Barcelona more adherently than some of us do, I'm sure there's a couple of talents that you would highlight for us that have come through the Barcelona ranks at La Masia that have not lived to their expectations. I remember we had a conversation about Ansu Fati that during the time when he was handed that chant number 10, he was a different player to the player that has left to join AC Monaco. So let's also bear that in mind. Moving on from Chelsea and what remains of their pursuits in as far as this transfer window is concerned is that okay, I do not know, but looks like some messages are not coming through here. Anyways, is that Manchester United target Benjamin Sesko prefers a move to United over other suitors. Scammer W8 man 10 says scammer. What's the meaning? What are you trying to say, scammer? Who is scamming who? But it's good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel while you're still here with us. Scammer, do not pay him money. He's a scammer. Who is asking to be paid money? Who is paying who money? I'm struggling to make sense of what it is that you're referring to. But anyways, so like I say, uh, I do not know, but there's a lag in your comments coming through. Okay. Anyways, so Benjamin Sesko would prefer a move to Manchester United over other suitors. This for me says a couple of things about the player. One of the things is that obviously he's not going to come cheap for a team like Manchester United. But we're talking about a Manchester United side that does not have European football. And one of the reasons as to why he wants to leave RB Leipzig is because they did not qualify for European football. But then you choose a team that equally doesn't have it. Of course, Manchester United's history and pedigree speaks for itself in comparison to other suitors currently, like Newcastle. Excuse me. Yes, Mr. Footballtribe, you mean if he means me, I've not asked for anybody's money. That our usual suspects know for absolute certainty that never have I ever tried to solicit money from anyone. So, anyways, that notwithstanding, but the 22-year-old Slovenian striker, who is a target for Manchester United and Newcastle, apparently, according to latest reports, is leaning towards Manchester United as opposed to other suitors. So, what I do get in this particular case is one, or two things. One, that if he ends up at Manchester United, Newcastle miss out on another top target. And it's been made clear that if Newcastle cannot find a replacement in this transfer window for a top striker, then they won't be letting go of Alexander Isak. Antipato, what hotel you in, please? I'm not in a hotel. I'm at my private residence. But thanks. I do not know why you assumed that, but it's all good. Anyways, so the Newcastle would stand to miss out on a top target, and they've missed out on a great deal of those already in this transfer window. I do not know whether the summer is because sometimes it's just not your time. It's just not your time. The nights are not yours. The days are not yours. I do not know if you guys have experienced it in normal life, but there comes a period in somebody's life when everything you touch turns to gold, and there could come a period when everything you touch feels like it's not working out the way you had hoped. And for Newcastle, this must feel like that period where everything they touch is not going the way they had hoped. Yes, they've managed to secure the second signing in Aaron Ramsdale on loan from Southampton. And please be reminded that Newcastle targeting Aaron Ramsdale is no surprise because they tried to sign him last summer from Arsenal. However, their position with the profit and sustainability rules sort of priced them out of a move for Aaron Ramsdale. So he ended up at Southampton, who have now loaned him to Newcastle with an option to buy at the end of the season. So he is going to be competing for places there with Nick Pope in this World Cup season. And remember, both Aaron Ramsdale and Nick Pope would want to rival Jordan Pickford for the number one slot in the England national team goal. But turning back to Newcastle is that they've missed out on Joao Pedro, Liam Delap, Brandon Mbomo, they've missed out on Hugo Ekitike. All these are players that they've tried to purchase in this transfer window, and they've rejected them for other teams. And then the other, Pedro, you say, I think she's saying you look like in a hotel because of the background. Oh, okay. Then Tokyo Boyle says, "Yo, hi Tokyo Boyle. Hello. What's your name? Yotocho. Is that Yotocho? Hello to you too. If you think Ramsdale will get number one in England, you're deluded. I'm not saying he's going to get number one, but I'm saying they are trying to rival Jordan Pickford for that slot. Let's not forget, while Jordan Pickford is a very top goalkeeper, he's had his horrendous mistakes that have for which that have caused England fans to look at him and say, can't we do better than this goalkeeper? But yeah, and yet season in, season out, he's always one of the best goalkeepers that there is in the Premier League in terms of keeping clean sheets, in terms of making saves, but partly because of the how the Everton play with oftentimes with the low block and that kind of thing, but also he is a good goalkeeper. I can see Tokyo Boys, sorry, Tokyo Body says Wakanda, Zimbabwe. I think you meant you're from Zimbabwe. Are you from Zimbabwe? Okay. Anyways, it's good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel while you're still with here. Tokyo says Chelsea is the best team ever. I think if that statement is anything to go by, that would paint you as a Chelsea player. Wojciech Witkowski from Poland. Hi, good to have you on the broadcast. Apologies if I mispronounce your name. I know names from Russia, Poland, and other countries can sometimes be a tongue twister for me. I remember consulting with one of my favorite pundits about the pronunciation of the then Borussia Dortmund player, Brashkowski, and the way the name was written, it did not in any way look to the way it was pronounced. But anyways, excuse me, all that aside. So, like I was saying, so Aaron Ramsdale is going to compete for that number one slot with Nick Pope in Newcastle goal. But while they've managed to secure Aaron Ramsdale and Anthony Elanga, let's not forget that they've missed out on a whole chunk of targets already. Just imagine maybe they had landed Brandon Mbeumo. It was their primary target before turning their attention to Anthony Elanga. Then they're trying to pursue a deal for Yohan Wissa. So far, Brentford have closed that door, so things are not really happening for them as well because they need him as a support striker within their ranks. Excuse me. Bearing in mind what their responsibilities are going to be going into next season, part of which being in the UEFA Champions League and also competing in the Premier League, trying to get to finish within the top four and perhaps win another domestic competition. So let's see. Polska, what does that mean? Then I think you're a good YouTuber. I don't know who that was meant for. I'm just bored. Okay, give me burgers. Anyways, I'll leave that to you guys. What do you think about transfers of Manchester United? Particularly, we're discussing Man United, although we are deviated to Newcastle because they are pursuing the same player in Benjamin Sesko. Now, I've been looking at some comparisons between Benjamin Sesko and Oli Watkins, and in the last two seasons, I think Oli Watkins has scored about 35 goals in about 75 appearances, while Benjamin Sesko has scored 27 goals in 64 appearances. Benjamin Sesko has provided 7 assists in those 64 appearances, while Oli Watkins has provided 3 times more than that, 21 assists. So overall, Oli Watkins' numbers looked better, but when it came to conversion rate, in terms of shots converted, Benjamin Sesko had an edge over Oli Watkins. 2, if the challenge with Oli Watkins is also the price tag, he's being priced at about £60 million, and Man United are also looking at it in also a longer term business sense that if you sign a player like Benjamin Sesko, who is 22 years old, his future resale value is going to be much bigger than that of Oli Watkins if that of Oli Watkins will have anything left to eat if he were to become a Manchester United player in the next 3 to 4 years. So you look at the age profile, that one is 22, the other is 29, turning 30 in December. Assuming you awarded them 5-year contracts, by the time that contract for Oli Watkins ends, probably is 35 or coming on to 35, while Benjamin Sesko would only be turning 27 and could be well within his prime. And if you look to move him on, then probably you're going to fetch more money than you would fetch out of Oli Watkins. But also, like that's the upside of the story in regards to the pursuit for Benjamin Sesko. But like we've said on this forum before, that when you do compare the two players, Benjamin Sesko, how is he different from Rasmus Hojlund that they already have? And I see okay, I'm struggling to read your name. And I see somebody already saying that Sesko is similar to Hojlund and Zaxi. Yeah, the same profile of players who Manchester United took bets on, and they are yet to deliver. They are yet to deliver. So that's the sticking point about this transfer, that Manchester United are yet once again taking another gamble. Yes, all transfers are gambles, even those that may come with Premier League experience. they are always gambles. But I think Oli Watkins, in the sense of experience and a guarantee to goals, he comes as a better bet as compared to Benjamin Sesko. But also, if Man United are bringing in Benjamin Sesko, what does that mean for the future of Rasmus Hojlund, Joshua Zaxi, and Chido Martin Obi? Chances are that Man United ought to move on at least one of them. Is it going to be Joshua Zaxi, who sometimes looks more of a 10 than he is a typical 9? Is it going to be Rasmus Hojlund, who is attracting a lot of interest from Italy? I'm sure Italian teams would be happy to hear if either of the two players is available. That's when it comes to Joshua Zaxi and Rasmus Hojlund, because they do appreciate them, because both players have come through the ranks of the Italian Serie A. Rasmus Hojlund coming through at Atlanta, while Joshua Zaxi was at Bologna. So in that kind of sense. But when you look at everything tactically and technically, Benjamin Sesko is not different from what they already have. Oli Watkins would be the safer bet. But that kind of price tag is still a bit on the high. Snow LFC says, hello. Good to have you back. Snow LFC was a part of us, was part of our broadcast earlier on, the late evening broadcast, in which we were discussing Manchester United again, because the topic was about Manchester United prioritizing Benjamin Sesko over other targets. I remember the other targets on that list is Oli Watkins, who we've been comparing him with, and then Nicholas Jackson. So for me, that's how I look at it. But either way, on the future business perspective, I understand why Manchester United are tilting towards Benjamin Sesko. Yet on the footballing perspective, for me, I think United would be better off with Oli Watkins. Maybe Wissa to United. They've not been linked with Johan Wissa throughout the entire summer, so I wouldn't be keen on speculating that rumor is worth the salt. I know for a fact that some Man United fans have suggested that if everything has failed for them, then let them go to Crystal Palace and secure a deal for Joan Felipe Mateta, who scored 30 goals in the last 2 Premier League campaigns. So it could be food for thought. Then Snow says, I think Sesko is only going to United for the money, and Newcastle has European football, whereas United has it once a week. I think you meant they're going to be playing basically the Premier League alone. And yes, Newcastle has UEFA Champions League football, and United can pay bigger wages as compared to Newcastle present day. But also, I mean, we've grown up being told that players are hungry to play UEFA Champions League football. That's why if your team is not qualifying for UEFA Champions League football, you're bound to lose some of your top players. That's what we've been told every single night and day. And yet, present day, it looks like money is everything. I know a whole host of players that have moved to the Saudi Pro League, frankly speaking, for the money, and they've acknowledged just as much. Ruben Neves acknowledged just as much, even though the football in the Saudi Pro League is equally good because of what they've been able to build in the last 2 years or so. So then when it comes to the money, of course, like I said, United can pay more. That's why for him, he would choose them over Newcastle. But if you're an ambitious player, I do not know. And for this case, I'm thinking out loud, particularly. I do not know whether his agent has done right by his client, especially in this transfer window, because he came from being targeted by Arsenal, who had the UEFA Champions League football. They have the money to pay him, although reports did suggest that he was asking for significantly higher wages than the Gunners were willing to offer. And then the asking price tag for RB Leipzig was quite high for a player who is yet to prove himself. I've considered him a prototype before, so I'll call him that for purposes of metaphorical language. He is a prototype of a striker. He's not a finished product. So everybody is excited by the prospect that he could be the next big thing in as far as European strikers are concerned. But he could live to that expectation, but also there is a chance that he may not live to it. So it's a 50-50 gamble on that front. Then you say Liverpool fans have Trent's shirt from last season. Liverpool fans who have Trent's shirt from last season are just putting a paper that says Isak instead of Arnold, so they do not buy Alexander Isak shirt because Trent's shirt said Alexander Arnold. Wow. Really? If that's happening, that's new. So funny indeed. Anyways, I swap Højlund for Johan Wissa. I do not know if Højlund would be open to joining Brentford. I know for a fact that he's told whoever cares to listen that he would prefer to stay at Manchester United and fight for his place. One love, one God, one people. No, do not swap Højlund for Wissa. Wojewski, I think, I do not know if that's, I'm pronouncing your name well. And again, I'll accept my apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. What do you think about Andre Onana? He's a very good goalkeeper that for whom it has not worked out at Manchester United. And I've said this before, you do not go from being voted the best goalkeeper in the world in 2023 and then suddenly you're the worst goalkeeper that the Premier League has ever seen or that Manchester United has ever seen. But right from the onset, I never thought that Andre Onana would be an upgrade to David De Gea Quintana, because for everything you'd fault about David De Gea, including some horrendous errors that he did commit, year in, year out, he was competing to being Manchester United's best player, so I do not know. I know for a fact that Erik ten Hag wanted a more ball-playing goalkeeper, and that's what he looked for when he went for Andre Onana. But given that they paid a fee in the region of 45 to 50 million euros to sign Andre Onana and ended up losing David De Gea on a free, for me has never made sense. If in fact David De Gea had remained at the club, because what Manchester United did at that time is they backtracked on their promise of a new contract for David De Gea, and that's how he ended up living on a free. And last season, I think he was one of the best, if not the best, player in that Fiorentina team. So they look. I do feel that if he had stayed, even if he was going to be reduced to a backup player, I think he would have really, really given Onana a run for his money. Because how many times have we seen Altay Baindia be given the opportunity to step in for Andre Onana, and he didn't live to the expectations. So, but I do feel that he's just not worked out at Man United, but there is a good goalkeeper in Andre Onana. Here about Mitrovic to United. those rumors have been, spread around here and there, but most of the concrete sources have denied that speculation. Alexander Mitrovic, another 30-year-old to join United. I know Pedri made a case for him. He's a good striker, but I mean, you Manchester United, really. Why going to the Saudi Pro League to secure a striker when there is the rest of Europe where you are competing already? But anyways, it is what it is. Then good performance in 2023 UEFA Champions League final. Yes, indeed. So by the time you remember he left Ajax, went to Inter Milan, very good goalkeeper, good with his feet. Of course, like any other goalkeeper, he is without his flaws or errors. Those things do happen even to the best of goalkeepers. But overall, he's a very good goalkeeper. Then I love Mitro. I wanna see him in United. I would own him in the Fantasy Premier League. You may as well recommend him to Barcelona and see how that works out. I do remember when you signed Adama Traore from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Look how that worked out. Then Snow LFC thought I would stop in and say hello. Hope Unite goes well. Thank you so much, Snow LFC. Thank you so much for the wishes. I hope yours goes well as well. It's possibly daytime in Oklahoma. I do not know, but I'm assuming. But possibly daytime. Anyways, Pedri says his name is pronounced as Wojciech. Oh, Wojciech Witkowiski, something like that. Wojciech Witkowiski. Then why not even write it that way? Maybe that way would be easy for us to pronounce. But anyways, nothing against you. Pedro, you say you speak Polish. Okay, that's good. I think I've always admired people that speak multiple languages. I've seen it with the comedian Trevor Noah. I've seen it with Mikel Arteta. I saw it with Arsene Wenger. These are guys that speak Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, English, whatever, those kinds of things. And also, I've seen an American TikToker who speaks Chinese so fluently, and I sort of admire that. Usually, if you can connect somebody at the language level, then everything else will be easy. Well done, Pedri. I have experience from Sydney and Liwi. You can imagine how I'm pronouncing those names, but kindly indulge me, guys, for the mispronunciations there. So I'm more accustomed to reading, simple English names. That's why even some Spanish names I tend to struggle. For example, every time I'm reading, the reason as why I only read Pedri is because the other first part of the name, is a bit difficult for me. I saw it with Mikel Arteta. He only speaks Spanish and English. My friend, please check again. Please check again. That one, we won't even have a debate about it. Just go and check again. He's one of those guys. And by the way, he does speak French. Remember, he played in the French League One. That was between 2001 2002 when he played with Gabriel Hens, with Mauricio Pochettino at PSG. So yeah, he is one of those that is very good. He also played in Scotland with Rangers. Lewandowski, by the way, okay, doing good with Polish. Okay, I think I'm giving you your flowers there, but thank you so much. Thank you so much. So basically, for Benjamin Sesko, I get the feeling that in a way he may have been hard done by his agents. I remember his agent, he's been reported to have asked for, these sizable, commissions and everything, which made the entire deal too expensive. Of course, as the negotiator for his, a client asking for too much wages, and things have not really so far gone well for him. I wouldn't be surprised if the transfer window ends and Benjamin Sesko has remained an RB Leipzig player, because he's turned down any proposals to go to the Saudi Pro League clubs, and then Manchester United, while they want to sign him, depending on the terms of the deal, they would have to sell fast. And they are looking to move on players like Anthony, players like Canacho, players like Jordan Sancho and Tyler Maracia to try and raise more resources to help facilitate that deal. So while Man United may agree a deal in principle to sign Benjamin Sesko, he may have to sort of wait a bit. Man United may have to tell him, look, we've agreed everything, but give us a couple of weeks to move on these parties, and then we'll get our house in order, and then you can come in. So that's according to Sky Sports, by the way. They are the ones reporting that for Man United to get this deal done, it would depend on some movements. So let's wait and see how that goes. Imac Hunt, is that how you pronounce the name? Imac Hunt uh, says Leeds. I think, are you a Leeds United fan? National team, okay. Fun fact: Lewandowski won't play for Poland anymore. The Polish national team, okay. Uh, Wojciech says he will. Uh, okay. Anyways, I thought it was a Szczesny that had retired from the game initially. But anyways, let's wait and see. Players change their minds all the time. You remember when Messi had stepped down from the Argentine national team and he was convinced to return. So players do that all the time. And then he has a problem with the head coach. Okay, head coach just changed. Thanks for that info, Wojciech. He said if the head coach doesn't leave, he won't play for the national team anymore. Oh, okay. I think perhaps I get the feeling that maybe Lewandowski found himself maybe in a bit of a similar position with what Ben White was in with Gary Southgate and his coaching and one of the members of his coaching staff. And when Thomas Tuchel was appointed, when he was summoning his first team, he was asked about Ben White, and he said he had spoken to the player. The player is open to getting back on the national team. Although at the time, I think they were going to welcome their first child, so he was left out of the squad for those reasons. But also he had just returned from that long-term injury, which saw him get surgery on one of his knees, I think. So yeah. Then also, okay, Lewy is bigger than than any coach in Poland, living legend. Okay, that's how much he's appreciated in Poland. Until you see his performances with Barcelona at 37, his misses. He misses at 10 open goals per match. Really? No, you're over exaggerating. You're over exaggerating. I know for a fact. But I mean, at 36, at 36, 37, and you're still scoring 25 league goals in a season. That's impressive. That's impressive. Mr. Tribe, can we do a 1 minute silence to remember Diego Jota? I'm very okay with that. I'm very okay with that. If all the rest of the people on the broadcast agree to that, I'm okay with it. So let others have also say about that, and then we can do the 1 minute. I have no quarrels with that. Okay, thank you. Um, may his soul rest in eternal peace with his brother Andre Silva. May their souls rest in peace. But thank you for making that suggestion, and I hope we did honor the minutes as to your expectations. If there were any couple of seconds that were left, if you are counting, really, apologies that you are interrupted. But yeah, uh, anyways, so basically that's the conversation revolving around Man United and their pursuit of Benjamin Sesko. That's what is happening with Chelsea and their push for Jorrel Hato. That deal is already agreed in principle. Then this is coming in from David Austin saying RB Leipzig asking price for Benjamin Sesko is 75 million euros guaranteed, plus add-ons and a percentage on future sale. A fee expectation communicated to suitors for the 22-year-old striker. Newcastle and Manchester United pursuing, but no agreements. Excuse me, but no agreements yet with RB Leipzig or Slovenian forward. Now, both sides are pursuing the player, but nobody has agreed a deal in principle with the player on personal terms and things of that nature. So it's still an open race, meaning any other team can easily walk into the conversation and turn the player's head. So that's to be expected. Rest in peace, prayer. Okay, I read that. Have you seen the clip where teacher of Mbappe, when he was a kid, was holding him from his ear? Not that I've seen. GT7 Ship says, say Kevin is a good boy and I'll donate. And you'll donate what? But thanks for being with us at GT7 Ship. Thank you for being with us this, late Wednesday evening. It's 12 minutes past the top of the hour here. It's midnight already. You say anything? Okay. You want me to say? You want me to say what? In any case, there's no I would be able to receive a donation because this is not a monetized channel. So that's why it doesn't have things like membership and things of that nature. But thank you for being a part of us this evening. Kindly consider liking the broadcast, but also subscribing to the channel as well. But it will be a pleasure. It will be really, really a pleasure. Kevin is a good. Yeah, Pedro said it on my behalf. Oh, you're telling me to say it. To what cause is he going to donate to, and how is he going to fulfill that pledge to donate? I'll be interested in knowing. But anyways, that's on. Okay. Say Kura, what's that? Anyways, guys, it's all fun and banter. It's all fun and banter. But yeah, then Galatasaray have confirmed the signing of Victor Osimhen. That's a done deal. He did agree to a 3-year contract that runs until June 2028. So he's going to be he cannot be sold back to any Italian club within the next 2 years. Then Galatasaray are going to pay 40 million euros upfront, with the 35 million euros expected in 12 months. Napoli also retain a future 10% sell-on clause, but that's dependent on if they make a profit on a future sale. Basically, means buy in Polish. Okay, thank you so much, Wojciech, for being with us this night. I can see we have somebody joining us. This is Miss Tank. What's up? Miss Tank says, what's up? Good to have you on the broadcast. Where are you joining us from this evening? Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel. I think that you're new here. Miss Tank. We can't hear you. Oh, you can't hear me? What is saying? Maybe adjust your volume. I feel my microphone is still on. In any case, Pedro would have informed me that the microphone was off. Who do you think takes the Premier League next year? I think Liverpool are still favourites, but Arsenal will compete. Chelsea will compete. Man City will be in the title conversation. But let's wait and see how what more there is they can still do in the transfer window that could sort of tip the balance of scales in one is favor or the other. But I do believe Liverpool remain the favourites as the defending champions. But also bearing in mind the kinds of additions they've been able to make to that team. We can't hear you properly. Or is that the case, Pedri? Pedri says it's good, and all the others seem to be fine with it. Kindly maybe adjust your volume, or from Babyland. What's Babyland? I saw your stream from Pakistan. Oh, I'm good to have you, Mr. from Pakistan. We've received a lot of love from Pakistan. What T-shirt is that? It's the PSG kit from a couple of years ago. One of those kits that I did crash on. But thanks for asking. But kindly like the podcast, but also subscribe to the channel, seeing that you're new here. Thank you so much for dedicating the time to be with us at this late evening. I know it must be late in Pakistan. It must be late in the night. For people in India, I'm sure it's about 2 a.m. on that side. It's Chupa Moting. Chupa Moting is he the one that reminds you of this shirt? Eric Maximin Chupa Moting did play for Bayern Munich, one of those lucky guys. Anyways, let's see. I think we should go to the transfer gossip and speculation and look to wrap this up. I can see it's already been 1 hour, and I would love to go have a bit of rest. It's been a bit of a long day, and I seem to have picked up a headache. Along the way with this cold that is, disturbing me. But anyways, we can also look at the speculation and gossip later, perhaps even tomorrow. Let me just read your comments. How many kids do you have? I don't have. Why do you ask? He has 90. Okay. Thank you for the generosity, guys. Thank you for the generosity. I do appreciate you. Allow me up this here, but in case any of you is interested in learning some digital skills like coding, cybersecurity, and web design, do not forget to check out our friends at Ebo State. They are based in Kansanga, Kampala, Uganda. They do offer in-person and online training sessions for their trainees, and they do help people find jobs with their trainees find jobs within the dynamic digital world after training. Ronaldo or Messi, both very good players, legends of the game. That's all I can say. If you do objectively appreciate them as good players, I think you wouldn't have to choose either of them. But I know Pedro will choose Leo Messi because he's a Barcelona fan. If we had a Manchester United fan or a Real Madrid fan, if we had Rodrigo Hala Madrid star, he would be saying to the contrary. So yeah. You see, Miss Tank says Ronaldo is better. So I mean, you can have that debate literally all day if you decided to have a debate about those two players. Really, that's how it would go down. That's how I feel it would go down. Excuse me. So he robbed Neymar's Ballon d'Or. Which year was that? Which year was that when he robbed Neymar's Ballon d'Or? Are you talking about 2015 when they won the treble with Luis Enrique? I remember they beat Juventus 3-1 in the finals of the UEFA Champions League, and they had won the league. Miss Tank, he's 35, by the way. Okay. To answer your question, okay. Thank you for answering him on my behalf. That's good. Sorry. Okay. It's all good. It's all good, guys. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us tonight. Allow me go have a rest so that we can get. Are you alcoholic? No. It's one of those things that I avoid, stay away from really. I know the other day Pedri was asking me if I do cigarettes. Was it Pedri or somebody else? But I don't do either of those. But anyways, thank you so much for being part of this broadcast. Miss Pedri, Wojciech, thank you so much. GT7 Ship, Nick, thank you so much. Let me see. Snow LFC, Tokyo Boy, Tokyo Boy or Tokyo Boy. Thank you so much. W8 Mountain, thank you so much. One Love, One God, One People. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's podcast. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. Let's link up again tomorrow morning. If God does grant us the good health to be here, we will be here to discuss more from the world of transfers and more from the world of sport. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Can you sing Baby Shark? Come on, guys. Who of you is still a bottle feeding baby that you need to be sung Baby Shark to? In any case, if there's any two things I'm not good at, it's singing and dancing. But thank you, guys. Bye bye for now.